what's up guys, it's Edward Munoz and I'm the author of The Underdog's Code to Riches. If you are here right now, it's because you either already purchased the book or you are considering purchasing the book. Well, in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you why I decided to write this book and how you can take advantage of all of the valuable lessons that are in this book, The Underdog's Code to Riches. What a beautiful cover, right guys? I'll share with you how I came up with the concept for this cover and the image at a later date, but not right now. In any event, guys, I came up with this idea 11 years ago. Back then, I was a real estate broker in Queens, New York, and I had this idea. I said, wow, I would like to write a book about two brothers who grew up in East New York. Now, it's not my story, but obviously there are little pieces of me within the book because I am the author. But I had this premise, and the premise was two brothers who grew up in East New York that make different choices. And those different choices lead to different outcomes. And coincidentally, you know, I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, back in the 70s and 80s, and back then it was a very tough neighborhood, one of the highest crime neighborhoods in the United States. You can look up the facts on Google. They even made a movie about the East New York. I think it's called The 70th on Netflix. I think that's what it's called, based on the 7th precinct, which was one of the worst precincts in the United States. In any event, I grew up in East New York in the 70s and 80s, and coincidentally, my brother also grew up in the same neighborhood. He took a different path. This book is not about him or me, but my brother definitely took the path of the crime and the streets, and he did a lot of stuff that he's not proud of. And he ended up serving time in jail as well. Today he is a completely transformed human being. You know, he found God and he lives a principle-based life. But for many years that was not his case. So, you know, there's a little bit of me and my brother in the book. Again, the book is not about us. Certainly that was not the inspiration, because one day I just had this thought to write a book about two brothers who grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, and how, you know, they make different choices and those choices lead to different outcomes. So that was the original inspiration. And then years later, I started reflecting. I said, wow, it just so happens that I grew up in East New York, you know, and then I went to the Marine Corps, came back from the Marine Corps, and I fell into the world of sales. And if you want to know more about me, you can look at my biography on unleashyourchampion.com. Just go to the About section. Now, going back to my brother, you know, yes, he grew up in the streets and he did a lot of things that he's not proud of, and he was mixed up in that crowd for many, many, many years, and eventually he got caught and served time in a state prison. And today he is, like I said before, a totally transformed human being. So that was not the inspiration for this book, but it just so happens that I lived through that in certain aspects, and my brother as well. Well, just a little side trivia for you guys, because you guys are here watching the bonus video, and if you're watching the bonus video, I want to share with you all the cool behind-the-scenes things that most people don't know. But going back to the message that I originally wanted to share with you, when I came up with that idea, I didn't consider myself a writer back then. As a matter of fact, I didn't finish college. And I said, I'm not a writer. Why should I write this book? And at the moment, I was a motivational speaker, a part-time motivational speaker. I gave motivational talks from time to time, mostly on a referral basis, because I was running with my business partner a very successful real estate business. So I gave motivational talks from time to time, but I aspired to be someday a full-time motivational speaker. Back then I said, no one's gonna read my book. I know no one's gonna read my book. I'm not an author. I didn't finish school. And one day I called one of my mentors and he said, hey, how's the book project coming along? And I said, truthfully, because I had called him in the beginning when I was going to start writing the book. And I said, you know, I don't consider myself a writer. I think I'm going to abandon this project. He goes, what? You're not going to abandon that project. I said, but I'm not a writer. And especially this book is like a novel. I have this concept of writing a story, you know, kind of like a fiction book. And I have this concept of building into the story all of these motivational lessons. So I didn't go to college and major in English. I'm not a writer. He goes, Edward, when you first went into real estate, did you know how to give a sales presentation? Did you know how to negotiate? Did you understand the real estate business? I said, of course not. But if you dedicate yourself, you'll figure it out. Everything is figure-outable. You just need to fully commit. You need to dedicate yourself to this project and you'll figure it out. And I said, I think you're right. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do. Then I called another friend of mine and I said, hey, I want to write a book, but I have no time. So my friend said, Edward, I know you don't have the time, but can you commit 30 minutes per day to this book? I said, sure. 30 minutes every day until the book is complete. 30 minutes every single day. I said, I think I can. He goes, you think you can or you will? Because there's a difference between a decision and a committed decision. And I said, I can do that. So awesome, Edward. Every day take 30 minutes before you go to bed or early in the morning, but do not go to bed until you dedicate 30 minutes to writing. And if you have nothing to write, dedicate 30 minutes to researching the topic, something related to the book. And I said I could definitely do that. So I opened up a Microsoft Word document and I just started typing. And whenever I got stuck, I would just do research on the topic. And back then, what I did was I would go rent movies in Blockbuster. We're talking about 2008, 2009, to get ideas on how to write the book. And basically, I learned how to write this book. Look how thick it is, guys. I learned how to write this book in the beginning by watching gangster movies. So basically, I started studying patterns within the movie. And I noticed how the movie began, the middle, and the ending, the plot, the characterization. I started watching videos on YouTube on how to write a novel. And then I started calling other friends who are authors, and I just started writing. And my friend said to me one day, Edward, just write every single day, and then you'll get a professional editor who will spice up the book. Turns out that I have had 4 editors work on this book. 4! The first one was a developing editor. She helped me build out this manuscript. I worked with her for approximately 14 months. Her name is Mona Lisa Safai. Then I worked with a technical editor. Then I worked with a copy editor. And then the last person helped me build a dialogue into the story. Then I had a proofreader, so that's number 5. So very similar to someone who's building a house. You have someone who lays the roof, someone who puts the windows in, someone who specializes in electricity and plumbing. So everyone has a different specialty. So I learned a lot in the process. So whenever I got stuck in writing the Underdog's Code to Riches, what I would do is I would call someone. And in the beginning, I called this guy who used to be a cop in Brooklyn back in the 70s. I said, hey man, can we meet for some coffee? He said, sure, what's up? I said, I'm writing a book. And back then, I'm going to share with you some inside information. Back then, the book was called Rich Brother, Poor Brother. Yes, that was the name. And I went and bought that name, richbrotherpoorbrother.com. Later on, I decided not to use that name because it's very similar to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I was inspired by the concept of 2 brothers who take different paths. And one brother is building a rich mindset, and the other one is committed to being rich, but doing all this gangster crap. And the other one was committed to follow success principles, to learn success principles, to live by success principles, to be guided by success principles. So he decided to go through a transformative process, and the other one just decided to do whatever it took to make fast money, drug money. So that's why I thought Rich Brother, Poor Brother was a good title. Until later on, I started looking into other possible titles, and I created about 50 titles, and I had people vote on Facebook. I sent text messages, I called friends. I said, when you hear this title, what comes to mind? And eventually we narrowed it down to 3 titles, and from those 3 titles we narrowed it down to the Underdog's Code to Riches. So going back to the story. Oh, the cop. There you go. The cop. Yes. So I sat down with this cop, and he started sharing with me all of these real stories that he personally lived. And I said, wow. So I just started writing notes and taking notes and taking notes and taking notes, and I had a yellow notepad. And I said, well, I feel like a journalist. I just kept on taking notes and kept taking notes. And I said, man, there's a lot of good stories. Can I include these stories in my book? He goes, you sure can. Just don't use my name. I said, not a problem. So one day I told my brother, hey, could you introduce me to some of your drug dealing friends? He goes, oh man, that's not a good idea. I said, come on man, introduce them to me. I need some stories. So I sat down with 2 drug dealers. I remember I sat down with them for 5 hours, and they used the language from the streets. Yo, son. I'm gonna say exactly what he said, so please don't judge me, but I'm gonna say exactly what they said. Yo, son, I'll fuck you up, man. If you put my name in there, I'll fuck you up, B. And I said, yo, man, relax, chill, take a chill pill. I'm not going to use your name. I just need real stories. All right, son, I. This is the way they speak, so don't judge me. Oh, man. Hey, you know what? You can't blame these kids. You know, they grow up in an environment where everyone around them sells drugs. So that was just a natural thing to do. And that's why I wrote this book, because this book is going to inspire people, all types of people. It's going to inspire people who are in that current situation. It's going to inspire people who are in jail. And believe it or not, if you've never been through that situation, or you're not in that situation and you're in sales, or you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you're a lawyer, trust me, you will get something from this book, because at the end of the day, there are many success principles, and these success principles are applicable to anyone. But this demographic, this specific demographic, will benefit a lot. And in the back of the book, and it's backwards, but it says real life wisdom that will inspire you to make better choices, live fearlessly, and succeed in spite of the odds. So regardless of what stage you are in your life right now, this book will definitely inspire you to make better choices, live fearlessly, and succeed in spite of your odds, whatever odds you're facing right now. So anyway, that drug dealer gave me a bunch of stories. I kept on writing. What an interesting moment. Then I said, let me go interview a single mother from the projects. So I went and started interviewing single mothers from the project. They gave me their stories, and I asked them lots of questions. And basically I wanted to write the book from their point of view. I interviewed drug dealers, I interviewed cops, I interviewed a cop informant. Who else? Then later on I started interviewing therapists and life coaches and motivational speakers. Then I started interviewing salespeople who back then were making $100,000 and $200,000 a year, on their thought process and how they went from zero to making $100,000. And I was just digging into their thought process. Of course, I did a lot of research online to come up with all of my success principles, but I also studied people who were actually living it and experiencing it. Then I went and started interviewing multi-millionaires, and I interviewed about 9 of them. I went to their houses. I went to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, California, New York, and basically I just started interviewing them, asking questions how they got to where they're at, and I started picking their brain and how they view life. Then I interviewed several real estate entrepreneurs, not just real estate entrepreneurs, but multi-million-dollar real estate entrepreneurs, people who were making millions in real estate, because chapter 9 is dedicated to the wealth bucket formula. How anyone can go from zero to millionaire by following this formula. So that's in chapter 9, okay? So chapter 7 is the mindset of the rich and the mindset of the poor. So as you can see, I started interviewing people, and I started getting ideas, and I started getting more ideas. And then about 6 months before launching the book, a good friend of mine said, hey, I read your book. I think it's an awesome book, but you need to change chapter 10. He said, what? Dude, you know how long it took to write this book? I said, I'm tired. I'm done. I am so freaking done. I'm not going to continue. That's it. I don't want to leave and look at those pages no more. I've been working on this project up until that point, like 9.5 years. And he says, no, chapter 10 can be better. We need a powerful ending. So he started asking me questions. I would call him, and basically I would interview him over the phone, and I would record these phone calls, and we were just brainstorming, because in chapter 10 I talk about the power of choice. So I created, together with his support, we created a framework for making better choices. Basically, here it is. I don't know if you can see that, but you can download that image, and it's called the Choice Making Success Model. Since I recreated chapter 10 and rewrote it, then it inspired me to add some more chapters. So I decided to add chapter 11 and 12. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise and tell you what happens in chapter 11 and in chapter 12, but whew, I think it's one of the most epic endings any book of this type has. If you are not moved to tears, if you are not inspired by the end of this book, then email me and I will refund you your money. And I'll even provide you with a gift. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Okay, don't take advantage of this. I'm just saying that I stand by my product. So chapter 11 and chapter 12, it is powerful. It is one of the most powerful endings any book of this type could have. And I would say that this book is like a novel lesson book. I know you've never heard of a novel lesson book, because there are fiction books based on urban stories. There are many fiction books on Amazon that have urban settings, that people who are in the hood and struggling, and stories related to the urban setting. Then there are motivational how-to books, 7 Steps to Greatness, How to Be a Better Communicator, etc., etc., etc. Awesome, by the way, freaking awesome, amazing books in the world of self-help. This is the first book of its kind that merges, an urban setting that I know of. Maybe there's another one out there, but that I know of, the first one of its kind that merges an urban setting together with proven success principles. And what is a success principle? Well, success, if you look it up in the dictionary, is reaching a desired aim or outcome. Then you're successful because you reach this desired outcome. You accomplish that. What is the definition of principle? A principle is a universal truth that, when applied, will produce a predictable outcome. So when you merge the word success, achieving a desired outcome or aim, together with principle, then you have success principles. So these principles will show you how to be successful in life. And if you choose to live a principle-based life, you will make more money, lots of money. More people want to do business with you, refer your business, refer your clients. Now you become super attractive because there are very few people who choose to live a principle-based life. So that's a little bit about the book. There's more to talk about. Oh, I'll say one last thing. Each of the motivational concepts in each of these chapters took anywhere from 3 months to a year to create, because they are all unique in their own right. So you've never seen any of these motivational principles in any other book in the world. I made sure of that. And each chapter has different images, and I decided to include these images so that you can get a visual for the concept that I'm explaining. And many of these images are free. Just leave your name and email on my website, theunderdogcode.com/book resources, and you can download them for free once you leave your name and email. Theunderdogcode.com/book resources.